Good evening from the State of Kuwait. Welcome to the 7 o'clock news for Saturday, the 1st of November 2014. I am Dalia Badran with the headlines for tonight. Egyptian president affirms that historic and solid relations between Egypt and the State of Kuwait will remain an example to be followed at the level of brotherly ties and joint destiny among Arab brothers. Iraqi Peshmerga fighters continue to battle the IS militants in the Syrian border town of Kobani. Burkina Faso military chiefs back Isaac Zida as the transitional president, appearing to end confusion over who is in charge. A suicide car bomber killed at least 11 security forces as Afghan president vows to ensure stability in his nation. Hello and welcome. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency, the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, Abdulaziz Bouteflika, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness, the Crown Prince, Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah, sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency, the President of the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria, Abdulaziz Bouteflika, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness, Sheikh Jaber Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, Sir Rodney Williams, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness the Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, Sir Rodney Williams, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Mubarak Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. His Excellency, the President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, affirmed that historic and solid relations between Egypt and the State of Kuwait would remain an example to be followed at the level of brotherly ties and joint destiny among Arab brothers. In an exclusive interview with Kuwait News Agency Chairman, President al-Sisi said that his meeting with His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah was distinguished with an atmosphere of genuine brotherhood, understanding and mutual keenness on bolstering and boosting the bilateral relations. President al-Sisi then stressed that the Gulf security is a red line inseparable from the Egyptian national security, clarifying that Egypt's bonds with the Gulf are solid, and added that the cooperation between the two sides constitutes a basis for bolstering joint Arab action. The Egyptian president also underlined the necessity of solidarity among Arab states at this critical time to rebuild crisis-ridden Arab countries and foil schemes to weaken others. Iraqi Peshmerga fighters prepare today to battle the IS group militants in the Syrian border town of Kobani, just hours after they arrived in a town that has become a focal point in the battle against the extremists. This comes as the U.S. Central Command said that American warplanes conducted 4 airstrikes near Kobani, damaging 4 IS fighting positions and 1 building occupied by the group. More details in the following report by Hiba Abdurrahman.
Iraqi Kurdish Peshmerga forces have crossed the Turkish border to help defend the Syrian town of Kobani from IS. Sources inside the town said that the unit was heading to the front line about 4 kilometers west of Kobani. The deployment came as Syria's Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front scored a major victory against a moderate rebel faction, capturing their headquarters as well as the mountainous strategic region of Jabal al-Zawiya in the northwestern province of Idlib. Kobani has been under siege for 6 weeks in a battle that has left 800 dead and forced more than 200,000 to flee across the Turkish border. The Peshmerga forces set off in more than a dozen trucks and jeeps, escorted by armored vehicles, from a holding point around 8 kilometers from the border towards Kobani. Despite having limited strategic significance, Kobani has become a powerful international symbol in the battle against the insurgents who have captured large expanses of Iraq and Syria. It's not clear just how many have traveled to Kobani, which is populated largely by Syrian Kurds. Their arrival would mark the first time Turkey has allowed ground troops from outside Syria to reinforce Syrian Kurds. Meanwhile, US-led airstrikes hit IS positions in Kobani earlier on Friday in an apparent bid to pave the way for the heavily armed Peshmerga forces to enter. As the Peshmerga headed towards the border, a loud blast was heard in the Kobani area, the latest in a series of explosions within the last hour in an apparent intensification of the fighting. The Kobani battle has raged in full view of the Turkish frontier, testing whether US-led coalition can halt IS's advance. The failure of Turkey to help defend the town sparked riots among Turkish Kurds, in which 40 people died. Earlier, machine gun fire could be heard from the Turkish side of the border as IS fighters bounded the area near where the Peshmerga were expected to cross. This comes as Iraqi Minister of Defense Khalid al-Ubaidi visited the military base of Ain al-Assad in western Iraq on Friday to inspect troops and discuss plans on how to tackle IS fighters. The radicals militants now encircle the largest air base in the western province of Anbar and the vital Haditha Dam on the Euphrates River. Its control stretches from towns near the Syrian border to areas near the Iraqi capital of Baghdad. Ubaidi said he consulted commanders and promised them full backing in their fight against IS militant group. As the government and fighters from the autonomous Kurdish region have begun to recapture territory in the north, IS has pressed its advances in Anbar, coming ever closer to Baghdad.
Houthi rebels attacked the headquarters of Yemen's Al-Islah party in the southwestern city of Ib, triggering violence in which 3 people died. Al-Islah, which brings together the majority of Yemen's tribes, has lost influence with the takeover of the capital by the Houthi rebels. The attack took place the same day hundreds of activists took to the streets of Sana'a to protest against the Houthi control of the city, demanding President Abdurrabbu Mansour Hadi to put an end to the insurgency. Protesters also called for early parliamentary and presidential elections. The demonstrations come a day after Houthi rebels rallied some 30,000 tribal leaders in Sana'a and delivered the communique giving President Hadi 10 days to form a new government, warning him that all options are open in case he failed. An army statement said that Burkina Faso military chiefs back Lieutenant Colonel Isaac Zida as transitional president. This development came as Burkina Faso's longtime president, Blaise Compaoré, resigned on Friday amid mass protests against his efforts to extend his 27-year rule, leaving 2 military factions vying for control of the West African country. Heba Abdurrahman has more details in the following report.
2 Burkina Faso military officials separately claimed control over the West African country after President Blaise Compaoré resigned, ending his 27-year rule. Compaoré's resignation was the culmination of an explosion of street protests over his plan for Parliament to pass a law to allow him to extend his rule. However, he cancelled the vote yesterday as the demonstrations intensified with attacks on the National Assembly. According to sources, the demonstrations that had erupted on Thursday left at least 3 people killed and about 62 others injured. With hundreds of thousands packing the Place de la Nation in the capital and with no sign of international support, particularly from former colonial power France, Compaoré bowed to public pressure. Under Burkina Faso's constitution, the head of the National Assembly should take office if the president resigns, but parliament was dissolved by the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, General Honoré Touraouri, on Thursday under short-lived martial law, leaving a power vacuum into which he stepped. Traoré told reporters in the capital that he assumed the functions of head of state. However, the Presidential Guard's second-in-command, Lieutenant Colonel Isaac Zida, said he was taking the role, contradicting Traoré. Many of the tens of thousands of protesters who packed the streets of the capital, Ouagadougou, on Friday had rejected Traoré's announcement, saying that he was too close to outgoing President Kobani. Capitalizing on the frustration among protesters, a group of junior officers led by Zida quickly moved to challenge Traoré's authority overnight, announcing curfew measures and the closure of borders. Meanwhile, diplomatic sources and local media said that a heavily armed convoy believed to be carrying the former president was seen traveling towards the southern town of Po, near the border with Ghana, which is home to a large military base. As the news of Kobani's resignation sparked celebrations by protesters in the Place de la Nation, a public square in the center of the city, France, the US, and African governments consider the events as a warning to other countries that may consider changing their presidential term limits, such as Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and the Republic of Congo.
Over to Ukraine, where artillery explosions could be heard every few seconds early today in Donetsk on the eve of separatist elections, as Ukraine and its Western backers say will undermine an increasingly hollow truce accord. German Chancellor Angela Merkel told Russian President Vladimir Putin the separatist elections in eastern Ukraine were illegitimate and would not be recognized by the European leaders. Meanwhile, pro-Russian rebels took up positions in the outskirts of Donetsk as fighting with Ukrainian forces raged on nearby. In other developments, Russia has agreed to resume gas supplies to Ukraine over the winter in a deal brokered by the European Union. The deal will also ensure gas supplies to the EU countries via Ukraine.
Und kann, dass das Parlament vorher gewählt wird. Und ich glaube, das würde auch der Stabilität des Landes sehr.
A suicide car bomber killed at least 11 members of the security forces and wounded more than 20 civilians near a police checkpoint in eastern Logar province in Afghanistan today. The Taliban did not immediately claim responsibility for the attack. Spokesman for Logar's governor said the suicide bomber detonated his car near a residential area in Azra district of Logar, killing 4 army soldiers and 7 local policemen. Meanwhile, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani Ahmad Zia vowed today to crack down on corruption and ensure security in his nation. Speaking after returning from a 4-day visit to China, the president said that Beijing was committed to helping bring peace to Afghanistan after more than 30 years of war, and that Afghan territory never again would be used as a base for insurgents to launch attacks on other countries. Boko Haram denied claims by Nigeria's government that it agreed to a ceasefire and will release more than 200 abducted schoolgirls. According to their leader, the girls have converted to Islam and had been married off since being taken. The group's leader said Nigeria's army announced a ceasefire with the militants on the 17th of October, saying the girls would soon be freed. However, violence continued since the truce was implemented, including yesterday's fatal bomb blast. Boko Haram has been fighting an insurgency since 2009, with some 2,000 civilians reportedly killed this year. Canada is to suspend visa applications from residents and passport holders from West African countries in the grip of the Ebola outbreak. The decision follows a similar decision by Australia, which drew criticism from the World Health Organization. Also today in Cuba, a total of 460 doctors and nurses will be sent to West Africa to respond to the Ebola outbreak. The first group of health workers, a total of 160, left Cuba on October 2nd. Meanwhile, the United Nations Special Envoy on Ebola commented today that there is no scientific basis for putting all people returning from Ebola-hit countries in quarantine unless there is a suggestion that they might actually have Ebola. Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea are battling to contain Ebola, which has killed almost 5,000 people. The WHO said yesterday that 4,951 people had died during the current outbreak, with 13,567 reported cases up to the 29th of October. A winged spaceship designed to take tourists on trips beyond the Earth atmosphere broke up, burning yesterday's test flight over the Mojave Desert, killing a pilot and deadly injuring the other. Sir Richard Branson has vowed to continue his space tourism venture despite the fatal crash of a Virgin Galactic rocket ship in the USA. Branson is on his way to the crash site today in a desert area about 120 miles north of downtown Los Angeles. Virgin has hoped to launch commercially in 2015. It has already taken more than 700 flights bookings at $250,000 US each, with Mr. Branson pledging to travel on the first flight. And finally tonight, the Sman Diabetes Institute, an affiliate of Kuwait Foundation for the Advancement of Science, hosted the first Kuwait-German Diabetes Conference. The conference was attended by the diabetes doctors, practitioners, specialists, and students with the aim of learning from the experiences of their German counterparts. Sarah Glubb has more in the following report.
The Sman Diabetes Institute organized a two-day seminar entitled the Kuwait-German Diabetes Mellitus Conference, the first such collaboration between the Kuwaiti-based institute and Germany.
Well, first of all, let me thank the Dasman Institute, and particularly Dr. Kadem Bahbahani, for having us and allowing us to have this event. We are very grateful for that. I know, as everyone knows, that diabetes is a big problem in Kuwait, and it affects a great number of Kuwaitis. As a German national, I am familiar with good doctors from Germany who have great experience in diabetes, including the participants, Professor von Lilienfeld and members of his team, Dr. Teves and Frau Sack. Germany has a special way of dealing with diabetes, where it is bifurcated between the care of the doctor and then the treatment by a diabetologist. And I thought it might be interesting for diabetologists here in Kuwait to hear about that, and then they can evaluate whether this would be useful to them.
The first day of the conference tackled topics including diabetes and its defect in vision and kidney function, the diabetic foot syndrome, and the effects of diabetes and its therapeutic approaches on daily life.
We are happy that we are invited to talk about diabetes. We work very much in Germany about diabetes because we have many patients, and we learned that the same problem is in Kuwait. We had the pleasure to be shown around this morning here, and we are impressed. It's a very good institution. There are all the parts we need to treat patients. And I think I'm happy we learned some parts which we really think we might do in Germany too.
diabetes educator, and this is something special. We educate people in small groups, 4 to 8 patients. And I want to tell for example, the people in Kuwait that this is necessary to take care of diabetes people. I educate people with diabetes and special for the special things, for example, for nutrition, for taking insulin, for hypoglycemia, and everything they have to know.
The second day of the conference tackled food and weight control, complications and consequences of diabetes, and new treatment options. The Osman Diabetes Institute has invited a group of German doctors to come and participate in the first Kuwaiti-German Diabetes Conference and share their experience, knowledge and skills on the treatment, prevention and diagnosis of diabetes. From the Osman Diabetes Institute, this is Sarah Globe reporting for English News.
Thank you, Sarah. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Before we end, here's a quick reminder of today's headlines. Egyptian president affirms that historic and solid relations between Egypt and the State of Kuwait will remain an example to be followed at the level of brotherly ties and joint destiny among Arab brothers. Iraqi Peshmerga fighters continue to battle the IS militants in the Syrian border town of Kobani. Burkina Faso military chiefs back Isaac Zida as the transitional president, appearing to end confusion over who is in charge. A suicide car bomber killed at least 11 security forces as Afghan president vows to ensure stability in his nation.